Hey, Latinos in Clinical Research, thank you so much for joining us on this very special monthly webinar. We've got David LaHaye and his colleagues from Rio Grande Clinical Trials. What's the actual name, David, of the site?
It's McAllen Research.
McAllen
Yeah,
Research, all the way in McAllen, Texas.
My
that's correct.
hometown.
The
Woo.
RGB.
Ashley's hometown, a great area. We're going to get into a lot of topics regarding underserved communities and the opportunities that we bring to those towns, the challenges and the opportunities that both come together, as with all thing in life. But we have David LaHaye, who's been someone that I've known for quite some time, actually, like pre-COVID days, which seems like BC, before coronavirus times. And he's amazing. I mean, he's had a site in Detroit area. Now he's got this site here. We're going to talk about pros and cons, the similarities and differences. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on. You guys are doing an amazing job, and if you could please introduce the team to us, we would love that.
Sure, I'll introduce these esteemed colleagues of mine here. So we're really fortunate here at McAllen Research to have a couple of really phenomenal people. And actually, I mean, everybody in our staff is phenomenal, but I do want to highlight Joanna Garola. So she is our site director here. And Joanna is just, let me share one story. You don't realize how important somebody is until they are not present. And let's see, sometime mid last year, Joanna went on maternity leave, and then we realized how important she is to the whole operations here. And this is Dr. Jose Raimundo. So Jose has this incredible subject matter expertise, and he is just a jack of all trades as well. And so like the two of these are the absolute glue and the WD-40 that make this whole machine run and make the parts stick together and pull apart. Yeah. So,
Wow, what a great introduction.
Yes.
And how about
Yes.
you? How about you, David?
oh, yes. Well, I apologize. Yeah, I was thinking Dan's introduction was sufficient to that. So I actually don't live here in McAllen. My home base is in Houston, Texas, but I I felt around the time of like once the data from the COVID-19 vaccines were coming out, and it was very clear that there was not sufficient diversity in order for physicians that are in border towns and in the urban centers to like you know to um, to write prescriptions to their staff. And I kind of decided it was my mission to go out and create sites and help bring clinical research trials to the underserved populations and start introducing clinical research to physicians that are serving a mostly Black and Hispanic and Native American patient population. And so that's kind of been my driving force recently. And so that's drove me to create a clinical research site in Detroit, Michigan. That's Great Lakes Research Institute. We work with a couple of phenomenal physicians that have been serving the local community there in Detroit for decades. And then this is kind of my current my current muse here in McAllen, Texas. And I couldn't be. I'd have to say it's like I can't take credit for things myself because like without these two, nothing here would work out. So I do have to point out that the fact that Jose and Joanna has been serving this community for so long, like they open so many doors for us and allow us to better serve the people that we're here to serve, and they help. I mean, as I mentioned, it's kind of my driving force to bring clinical research into areas where it's not where it's not common and introduce people that are naive to it, like to clinical research, and and that's something that you can't do it as a in and of yourself as an island. You need a great team, and that's what I got working with me here.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you for sharing. And I guess to give people a background, because I got to visit your site recently, so I'm excited that I get to share that. But what's your community like, McAllen, Texas? Give us a background, the demographics, patient population, border town. If you can give us a little bit more background on that.
So how about you, Joanna?
So we are, well, our site is located within 10 miles of the Mexican border. We're more, about 90% of us here are Hispanic. So that means that we have a big influx of patients that come in on the daily that live in Mexico, come in here, and then vice versa. Some of them work here, but decide to live across the border just because, you know, COVID, everything's getting a little bit more expensive. So
and that was you actually,
yes,
wasn't it?
and that was Mr. Jose for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So he would do a lot of the traveling back and forth every single day.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know. I was just gonna say if Mr. Jose wanted to add anything.
I think they're best living in the Rio Grande Valley. I know somebody mentioned there was the home here from McAllen. The cultural diversity is so different. You know, all the cities are together. You know, not like it used to be in the 70s when I was younger. It was so different. Now everything, no matter you move to one city to another, you never know where McAllen Star Far began or Will's Museum and all that. So it's pretty much the culture is so different. And the Tex-Mex, you know, it's we are accustomed to do that. So that you start a sentence with English, you finish with Spanish, or vice versa.
Yeah, that's great. I'm very familiar with that type of town, aside from visiting, because Imperial County is very similar to your town, and I believe like even Yuma is also like pretty similar to border towns. We're used to people going back and forth, but I know that's more common to our border town research centers. But as a whole, when you discuss like, you know, how you're set up, how do sponsor CROs, what's that feedback like when you try to explain to him exactly your patient population? Have you had challenges with that?
So I'll jump onto that question. So we actually had a site qualification visit not long ago where this was like we were a specific rescue site for a project that they were significantly limited in diversity. And when the person gave us his feedback at the end, he said, "This is exactly the type of site that we're looking for." So I'd say that our responses have been overwhelmingly positive, and it's really evident because I think the entire industry, from a standpoint of like the CROs and sponsors, you know, like they're really desperate for sites like ours because it's such an important push by the FDA to ensure that clinical trials have accurate representation of the population that's going to be taking the vaccines and taking the drugs of the future. That the clinical research trials are actually performed within those populations. So so I think it's been overwhelmingly positive, and we love to recommend places for them to go eat, and then they're like, well, we would definitely want to be your monitor when we finally get you guys activated. Yes.
I have a question for you, David. When you were create or when you how did you ended up with the idea of opening a site in that location, and how difficult or easy was for you to bring this team together?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And this may not be the best. So there's a lot of groundwork that goes into creating a new clinical research site. So my partner, Dr. Emmanuel Grosby, like he's not here right now, but he had basically done most of the groundwork when he invited me to join him in this. And so I had come down to see kind of the initial staff, and I've met with Joanna for the first time. This was about 18 months ago, and I mean, I don't like. I can see where the question's going because you're asking this question knowing that there's some budding entrepreneurs listening, and I don't want to give anyone the impression that it's easy. But to be honest, it's like Joanna, since she's worked in the space for such a long time, she knows sufficient. She knows many people who are experienced, and she's also a phenomenal trainer. So she's able, we've hired people who didn't have that training and skill set. So she's going to put them on a training path, and leading somebody to go from someone without experience to being an unblinded coordinator to learning how to do blood draws and doing blinded work and whatnot. So it's never easy. I guess when you're starting a new business or starting a clinical research site, it's never easy. But this has been easier than many other ones that I've done because it's instead of me kind of putting all the pieces together, it's like when you've got like a key piece, then that key piece can put the pieces together for you.
So that's what I was gonna ask because I mean it's not easy to find somebody in an
Yeah,
area like
Yeah,
McAllen that have experience in research. So you were extra
exactly.
lucky.
yeah,
Right, right. It's rare. It's not too many people.
yeah.
That's why I have curiosity because I mean, like Judy always mentioned that is in her city or where she has the clinic, it's not very easy to get anybody with experience. So she's building her team basically from ground up. And in reality, the majority of sites do that, right? I mean, when they are growing is when they start hiring people with more experience, but it's not easy to find people that have already experience. So basically, you're building your team from zero. But I mean, you were absolutely lucky to find Joanna. And Joanna, how did you get experience in research? How did you ended up in research?
So I've been doing research for 7 years, and I went to school, did not graduate, but eventually will. My goal is to become a doctor at some point. But I actually started, and I didn't know we did clinical research here. But the way I got into clinical research was by one of my friend's daughters, actually. So it started, it was within it was the site is no longer open, but it started within one of the PI's offices. So inside his practice, um, she said research. She at no point said clinical research. So I was like, oh, we're going to be researching, going out, taking samples, so on and so forth. And then I go in for my interview at a family medicine practice. And then from there, it's, oh, this is what we do. This is how we follow up with patients. This is everything that happens on the back end, when a medication, vaccine, anything is going to be or looked into getting approved by the FDA. So, and, that opened up, it opened up my eyes and knowing that here, even me, that I'm 32 now. But living here in the Valley for that long, I did not know that that was something that was available here. Um, After COVID, because of the vaccine studies, that actually did open up a lot of our community's understanding of what research is. And even now, our patients hear research and they automatically think guinea pig, but they don't understand how important it is for us Hispanics to participate in these trials. So that's how I became, and I had no experience. I started working from the ground up, learning on my own, GCP, YouTube videos, anything that I could find. But in the end, it was mostly reading the protocols and just going pretty much day by day.
Yeah, so you were 25, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
you're 25 and you started as a coordinator, or did you start
As a coordinator. And not only because now I know, you don't have any research experience. You start as I don't know, maybe a receptionist or a recruiter, and then you're not an actual clinical research coordinator. You're an assistant. I started as a research coordinator, and because it was so small, and it was inside the PI's clinic. She was the only one. It was one coordinator doing everything, following up with patients, the recruitment, lab, and then pretty much everything, regulatory as well. So that really helped me out and knowing and learning all the little aspects and everything that, research encompasses from the beginning.
Well,
So
that's very very
Oh,
nice
that's cool.
story, and actually, you're also extra lucky
Yeah.
because you
I
started in a place that many people would like to start.
yes, I agree. I was curious, So sorry, I'm off camera right now. Just doing some other things at the moment, but I did have a question. So I'm originally from the Rio Grande and I, I haven't been there in a while as far as, actually work there and all that. It's been a few years, but I do know that it's a very huge environment for healthcare in which, you kind of have the bigger, not necessarily the big networks, but you have the big hospitals that are very connected. And so in being able to, reach out to the Latino community. I mean, me and Monica and Judy just had a meeting not too long ago where we spoke with a specialist who talked about how Latinos, we'll probably have them on shortly, how Latinos are becoming, we're already the majority, but soon enough we're going to be the mass majority, as in, all other minorities along with the Caucasians will be of minority, and we will continue to grow in that aspect. So knowing that it's hard to educate the community, especially in the rural areas, what are some of the things that you found outside of, general patients coming over, um, maybe to get seen for a health, discrepancy or something, and you're telling them about research? Is there something else that you're noticing that it helps get patients to reach out and ask questions outside of the usual coming in the office?
See, so that's a good question. Let me kind of repeat or I guess summarize that, Ashley. So I think largely you're asking about like engagement, what we've done in order to get people interested in their health and get garner participation. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think these two are probably the world's foremost experts in that question, so I'll be quiet.
No, go ahead, Stress.
Well, there are so many factors, with that can be help the community. In my experience working as a medical across the border, Reynosa, Matamoros, Vallehermoso, and it's one of the challenges sometimes we have as a community and myself, as a male, just to go to see the doctor, you know, we still say, okay, well, I'll be there tomorrow, I'll be there next Tuesday, and we leave everything the last minute. So it's one of the things I always try to educate the patient, not because you have a little pain somewhere in your body, you need to go to the doctor. The other things is we seeing here in the Rio Grande Valley, the access to medical care is different, and they may be afraid about it, or they things like that. We had to the point where they go back across the border to get the medical care there, and they also because they can go here to medical care, but the medication is too expensive, and there's more cheap over there across the border. They go buy the medication there, where maybe you don't need a prescription for, but and you have to have prescription here in United States. But there's so many things that are, you have to be very to understand and to the patients where they're coming from. One of the things I learned in my medical school is to be listen to the patient, listen to the subject, listen to the participants who are going to be in any research, because if they are good candidates, they're going to be able to continue or not. I think one of the key for anything is the communication. When somebody showed to our clinical trials here, the communication with the patient or the participants is one of the key. We need to listen to the participants if they have any issues or any problems they come into. So
Yeah, and I can also highlight in like we put a significant amount of effort into our initiative to get in front of potential participants, but also have some community involvement as well. So we do have a promotora that she sets up. She sets up health fairs and other types of events that we can participate in. And when we go there, we provide some type of free, like depending upon what it is, we'll provide some type of free, like free service to anybody who's interested, whether it's a liver scan or a general like metabolic panel or even a genetic test. So things like that are items that we allow, or even even like COVID-19, RSV tests, things of that nature. So we provide something that is generally paid for through a clinical trial that we're working on, but we offer those services like freely to the public that that needs them. And this is often what people need in order to be engaged and have those conversations. Like Jose had mentioned, like there's a lot of people, like particularly men, I'm fall in that category. It's not like specific to Latinos, but you might have a pain or you might have something you didn't notice before, and our initial bend is to just walk it off, right? Like your gym teacher told you in ninth grade. And sometimes it doesn't really work that way when it's something like potentially late stage liver or some cardiovascular issue. The sooner you get attention, the better. And I think, and probably more so here than any other place that I've worked, I believe that many of our patients are very much like are selfless individuals that really serve like the people that they care about the most, like their family. And so oftentimes if some type of health issue creeps up on them, then their initial thought is, I don't want to spend my time and energy on me, like, and kind of this is a I don't know, this is a terrible thing to think, because like in some sense, when you focus your time on yourself, like that gives you additional years and additional energy that you could do focusing your time and energy on the people that you care about the most, right? And so I do, and actually, Ashley, I'd love it if you could tell me what you think, because you grew up here and you've moved elsewhere, but I do feel like a lot of the people that we serve here, their life motivation is to serve others, and we feel like participating in clinical research trials when will give many of these people the opportunity to lower the bar. We put the cookies on the lowest level so that everybody can reach them, right? It lowers the bar
Yeah.
for them to seek their like care for their health, and in many cases like some of the ignored health, like chronic health problems that they've had, because they don't have to go out of pocket for anything. So I don't know, Ashley, is that kind of your impression here?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I could just use my own family for an example. My father, who's, already I think 62 years old, he needs to go to the doctor and he'll be like, no, 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 I'll do it later. And then with me, he's like, oh, go get checked, make sure you're okay. And, all of that stuff. If you need anything, let me know. And if you're gonna need a ride, if you're over here, all these kinds of things. And I always tell him like, well, you're willing to do that for me, but what about yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's a very nurturing community, and I do agree. I think that one of the things, I mean, I'm pretty sure if this goes for most rural areas. I don't know about, in the actual cities, but um, it's it's important that, you have the understanding that, sure, family goes throughout each background, ethnic background, but I know in the Latino community, families are big, very big sometimes, and also, the way to stretch the dollars is really almost an art in some families that are very, very, large. And so even if, they can manage, they're going to do whatever they can to save and or to put for something that's more, it sounds weird to say important, but it's, they, yeah. And so I think the fact that you guys are doing what you can to give free stuff to at least bring them in and help to get some involvement is really good. I do feel like there's in research, I know that it's very much about, having people come in and sponsors giving money to be able to help with recruitment, and that might, involve events and things like that. But I wonder how far truly is the understanding of how much more engagement they'd have if there was more budget towards that, if they had a lot more understanding of the actual, financial generality of like economical for that particular rural area or location, and all of that. Because yeah, but thank you for that. I appreciate it, and hopefully a lot of people hear this recording so that they can learn a bit more.
Yeah. So you had said something really interesting, actually, that actually it's kind of a hook for something that I think is a story we didn't really come prepared for it. So I'll just pass the baton to Joanne. But we had like speaking about like making like stretching your budget, stretching your household income. We had a patient that I believe you've known this patient for a long time, but their primary care physician uh, like wanted them to get a liver biopsy years prior, right? And so they never did that because it was a few $1,000s out of pocket for them, right? Do you want to jump like take this story?
Yes. So it turns out that he had come in for a free fiber scan at the other research facility I worked at. He had, because his PCP, whom he no longer sees, but his PCP had told him something about fatty liver and that something about his labs always coming back elevated. He said that he never went into much in detail, but he says, "Oh, I want you to get a liver biopsy." He does have insurance, and he did have insurance back then, but he said that his out of pocket was going to be, I think he said about $2,000 to $3,000, and he said it was something that back then he was not able to. One, he was not able to afford to get days off. And two, he was not able to afford to get the biopsy. One, because of how much he had to pay out of pocket, and another was because he didn't understand the reason why his doctor needed and wanted him to get a liver biopsy. So he put it off, and we do social media advertisement. And one of the things that we do is, for example, we have fatty liver studies, so we offer liver scans. So for us Hispanics, I mean, and I'm talking about experience and because of my family, it's you see something and it says free, and it's I mean honestly it's like you're what, a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do when we do social media advertisement. They're already free, but we have free and um, liver scan. And because of where we at in our community, we have are you diabetic? Do you have high blood pressure and cholesterol? And everyone pretty much checks off all three. Um, but he saw that advertisement on social media, and he remembered how he had gotten a fiber scan done a long time ago, and it went back to the liver biopsy. He came in, sure enough, qualified, and that's when he said, his doctor had requested a liver biopsy. It was going to be very expensive, and he just couldn't afford it. And now he actually got his liver biopsy and is looking into, well, he's going to be randomized into our study. So he actually qualified. So now he knows the importance, and we were able to show him and educate him regarding, the reason what happened and why his doctor wanted him to get, a fiber scan, a liver biopsy, what it meant about his labs, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah, and I think this is just such a beautiful example to, I mean, all of those things at play, right? You have somebody who is, if he's got $3,000, he's going to spend it on his family. He's going to spend it on making things like making ends meet. And so he's not like paying attention to his health. He's basically pushing away, his future years because he can't make ends meet right today. And then he's got now all of a sudden, a few years later down the road, he's got two things that are important. One, he's got time to talk to providers on his health condition. And the two, he gets the procedure that he needs, the very expensive procedure that he needs for free. And then in addition to that, he'll be able to come back every single month as we monitor his progress and his hopeful improvement over the next couple of years while he's on this trial. I think that's kind of what we're all in this business to do.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
I have a question. And first of all, I would like to thank the three of you for championing that research in a rural area. Like Julie, I don't think it's an easy task, especially because it's a community that I mean, we don't trust that much, especially like when Joanna was mentioning when it says free, we just like, oh, that's gonna be fishy or it's something there, right? So um, what has been the way that you have been connecting with the community? What's the language, or how you guys have been building this trust within the community that now sits you in a place that is a trustworthy organization, and maybe you guys are even educating the whole community about research. So what has been that connection, or what is the key success in that area?
So that's a good question, Monica. I um, I think there's a multi-pronged approach. I think first and foremost, when you separate the fact that it's like our staff are like, been here for many, many years, and they're very, very much integrated into the community as well. But I think that a lot of it starts with our investigators. We've got 5 or 6 now, PIs and sub-Is that we've worked with, and they've all worked in this area for, well, not in clinical research, but many of them are naive to clinical research, but they've, been serving, the members of this community for decades, right? I mean, if you add all of them together, it's probably 200 years of experience inside, doing medicine. Yeah, well, that's a little bit like 200 years. So, well, over 100 years, we'll say, of experience in total between everybody. But that is, that's pretty extraordinary. And so as long as well, okay, I don't want to say like I know how things work, but what's really worked for us is that, our investigators aren't just, they're not just pedestrians in this. They're actively involved. They're true believers, and they want to bring these opportunities, and they see the value in clinical research. So that is hugely important. And I think the second item is that, like, we always have to ask ourselves, like, how is it that we can, be, involved in bringing value first and foremost to the people that we're serving, even if we ultimately don't see an ROI on it. Because no matter what, any type of community development work, like, the ROI comes after the fact, right? It's not like you can go do something and, provide very expensive, costly services, and then expect to get reimbursed for that immediately, right? It takes some time to do it. And a lot of times, sponsors don't really like to do it. They'll pay you something based on if you randomize somebody, maybe they'll do something. But at the same time, the cost and the expense going into all of all of the activities top of funnel very rarely gets reimbursed from the sponsors. We have had some success, but we do need to, we do have a staff member who her job is to set up opportunities for us to become involved in the community, either through 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 health fairs, through other places, like we go to the consulate, like Mexican consulate, and do free assessments for people, and then we have like maybe like a cycle of about a half dozen different activities where we just become fixtures and people see us regularly. And then eventually they figure out what we do, and actually one of the items that I haven't brought up yet, but is the work with the Rio Grande Valley Food Bank. And so we've been, within the food bank, there's a specific program here and actually, Ashley, didn't we discuss this when you were here? I think you volunteered with RGB.
Yeah, yeah, a while back,
Yeah,
ages ago. Yes.
yeah. So they have a program, because like many of the people that they serve, just due to the fact that, like, a lot of people of lower income who would rely on the food bank, like, oftentimes there's like diabetes, hypertension, and obesity will often come along with like people that are in poverty. So the RGV Food Bank has a program specifically to help coach and provide dietary information to people who have diabetes that are also beneficiaries of that food bank. And so we work hand in glove with them, And actually, Joanna and Mr. Jose regularly go there and do, give talks and help educate them on, fatty liver and how it kind of comes hand in hand with, with some of these other, some of these other comorbidities like obesity and diabetes. And so those are other items or other areas that, that we try to become fixtures within our community, and that we engage, we engage people where they are rather than hope that one day they'll just wander into our lobby. So I don't know. I think that was maybe a 5-minute expose and a bunch of stuff. But
I absolutely love hearing what you guys do, especially because everything, it doesn't have to be always transactional.
Yeah.
It's just that you're building that trust based on genuine interest and the passion. But I mean, you guys are one of those rare organizations that everybody is in the same page, right?
Yeah.
And that's very important. And obviously, finding a PI that is on that plate is not as easy as everybody might think. So thank you so much for what you do, doctor. A lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's an investment in your community and to do something more to grow and share this information, right? Especially clinical research. But I actually wanted to ask another question. You were talking about the food banks, but what are other agencies you guys are connected to or collaborations you have in place? Someone comes in, gets these results, they don't have insurance, they don't see a doctor. Like, what's that next step that you guys do for them?
So this is, and if you guys want to jump in, I don't want to be, hogging all the oxygen in the room. So this has been an initiative that we've been putting a lot of effort and energy into recently. And I don't think we're quite at that point, but, since we put so much effort into being involved in health fairs and, getting to know what other options are available to people, like, we just kind of collectively decided like we should be that hub. That if somebody comes in with some, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't necessarily have to be, specific to what type of studies we're doing. But if we have any information, we can kind of direct them to that area. And if you guys want to jump in, like one of the items that immediately comes to mind with your question is that there's a number of organizations here in the RGV that will give free STD or STI tests. However, there's a lot of stigma attached with being seen in these clinics. And I don't know if one of you guys want to jump into it.
Well, one other thing we have partnered with, what we call the Brook Clinic, Woodworks Clinic. It's more special for HIV, STDs. One of the things right now running in that particular clinic is treatment for hepatitis C. And they refer patients to us to do some progress scans because for being treated, they need to have a progress scan. Let's see what is the level or what stage they are for fibrosis. So that way they can have the treatment. The other thing we are planning maybe in future to do a testing here in our clinic for HIV or other STDs, so that way we can, believe it or not, the Rio Grande Valley is still, in today's day, is a lot of numbers for people who get HIV positive, more in the younger population. The number is still increasing. We don't talk too much about it, but still increasing here in the Rio Grande Valley. And it's one of the things, still the stigma, because there are specific clinics, they are still for HIV. If somebody saw you go to that particular clinic, everybody going to assume that you are HIV positive. And there's still many people they don't go testing because of that, because the particular stigma is still there. More in the younger population. And the other thing, we lose a lot of patients who are tested positive because they live across the border and they can never get treated, or vice versa. Sometimes they test positive here and they go back to the border to get treated over there. So something we thinking about maybe in the future to start doing that. But we have referrals not only for our clinic, but also for other physicians there to do the fabric scan. Recently, we have one of the things they refer to us because the particular subject or participant or patient, they don't have the amount, the money to be or the copay for the insurance with that. So that was a good thing for the patient to have the fluoride scan, so they can take it to a doctor and so can start doing some treatment or follow up with what is the next step for the patient.
I wanted to ask because you have been mentioning that you guys have a lot of like subis and other PIs and other doctors involved. How does that um interest or those talk have been that you guys spark that interest on them being part of the research I mean world because it's not an easy task. I mean getting a doctor interested
Mm-hmm.
it's oftentimes very hard because the majority will say I don't have the time or I mean mainly because the majority of the doctors, correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, they don't understand really how research industry research works because they have the idea of academic research, right? So they think it's or I have heard that many times that it's boring and it's too intense for them. So that's why they probably don't even open their doors for their communication about it or to learn about it because they think that's all it is about research. How's that happen with you and how come you guys have so much success bringing so many doctors? I mean, this is impressive.
Yeah, one of the things that will happen to knowing the Rio Grande Valley, knowing the across the border also, sometimes the doctors become a little territory. They are very aware. This is my patient. This is my, this is what I've been looking at. So when you go to present and to say, well, we're doing this kind of studies, is when they say, okay, you can leave the pamphlets or the folders, go to the secretary, and they forgot about it. Myself, when I go there, because I have experience working before as a investigator, but also I work for the state health department in Texas. So when they see me and they know me, because I was going to do the investigation about medical records and all that, they care about me. So because that helped me a lot to open doors to go and visit the doctors, what I do now, and that be helpful for me. They know understand, okay, it's something serious, we need to get more involved with that. And we have a doctor who's been sending a lot of patients right now to us to do the fluoride scan. And he's one of the doctors having only one clinic, but I have several clinics around here in the Rio Grande Valley. And it's a good thing, no matter if it's one doctor who sends the patients, but it's a little bit, little by little, we get in there to get more doctors and more PCB to get involved in this. So it's not,
Uh, it's, no,
yeah,
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
A lot of work.
yeah, no, it's not easy, because of that, but we get in little by little. So we have more and more doctors who want to be involved with this.
Yeah, so just to give you a little clarity on just overall business development funnels when it comes to providers, and also when I said I think we have 5 or 6 like PIs and sub-Is.
Yeah.
So we only have 3 physicians at this point. I mean, we're a year and a half old. So we have 3 physicians that are actively serving as PI on clinical research trials currently. And so we do have, kind of a bench, right? So we have a couple of people that express interest. And so we're putting them on as a sub-investigator. They're getting their feet wet. They're kind of sorting things out, deciding whether or not they like it or not. And then we're constantly we constantly want to keep that churn going. So then once we have some experience established with with the sub investigators that do want to explore this and do want to take the next steps in their career, and in addition to being a provider, also be a principal investigator. We do want to bring them into some clinical research trials as well. So this is just kind of our ability to kind of broaden, the group of the physicians that we work with and give them a deeper experience working within clinical research than they presently have. And when it comes to potentially getting people that are even further above that funnel, like people who aren't sub-investigators right now, but physicians that are maybe know we exist at this point, but they don't fully know what we do. I think you guys are sick of hearing me say this, but but the way that I'd like to describe it is that we've got to become a fixture in their, in their practice. And so they've got to see us regularly. And so one item is that I like to have, like, there's people within our proximity that we're like, okay, we don't really know them, but we want to get to know them better. And so obviously there's, as a business owner, as a, manager of a, a local business, going over and introducing yourself to the office manager and hoping to get a couple words in with the physician there is something that we do regularly. And then at that point, there's a lot of fun days that are that we like to, we like to just drop off conchas or some other like treat, regularly, so that so that we actually do become a fixture. So, or I think we did a pie day. So the 14th of March, 3.14, we, delivered pies to, a number of like not only places and physicians that we work with regularly, but there's also, a handful of physicians that we want to work with that we maybe had a couple of conversations, but we don't want them to forget about us. So we feed them. And I guess a way to a doctor's heart is through his stomach.
Well, it seems to me that you guys have a
snacks and
box.
coffee. Yeah, it's a lot of work what you guys do. I mean, we do something similar, and it's an investment in your time and your staff. So you guys are very dedicated, and thank you for doing that work because it's not easy. And sometimes you have to try and try and try until you get some kind of result. And it could be like discouraging, right? Because you put all this time and effort and you want to share this information. And sometimes it's not that easy to get into some of these places. So thank you for all that work because it is an investment of your time to continue to do this and continue to educate. And I know a lot of us others do this in the industry as well, and different components of it. So it's definitely, thank you for everything and for focusing on that in that community and doing what you do.
I do want to add something. Another thing that really helps us is the patients. So the patients, what they do is, I would say half of them have or have seen a doctor or have a PCP, and the other half don't. But for those patients that do have a PCP, we're always transparent with them. We let them know, you come in, you do a fiber scan, we give you copies of your fiber scan. So that way, if you see a specialist, if you see a PCP, you have those copies and you can provide them to your doctors. Another thing is, if they participate in any study, any kind of labs, EKGs, fiber scans, ultrasounds, all of that, we provide them those copies. And that actually, when they go to their PCP and they say, hey, I'm participating in a study, this is everything that I got done with them. We've actually had some doctors reach out to us and say, oh, I thank you so much, for providing so-and-so to my patients. Everything that you provided to them has been very helpful. I would like to know, can I refer anyone for fiber scans or XYZ? And these are all patients that I feel that would fit into a study or that would benefit. So that actually really does help out. It's not only, doing all the grunt work, but making sure that we provide, I guess, the best care and information to our patients, that when they go to their PCP, they are able to provide them with everything, and then their PCP, some of them, not most, but some of them really like that. And that's what ends up opening up a lot of the doors to where they're interested or they become interested in research, or maybe not to fully be a PI or sub-I, but to send over patients or to follow their patients through as well.
And one more thing for what Joanna said is very true, but other things about this patient also become an advocate, for our clinic. They talk to the doctor about, I had this done there, and also they can talk to some family members or friends. They can refer to us who go through the same situation with he or her. So this is a good thing for the patients also. They help a lot in that way.
Yeah, the word of mouth, right? They have a good experience, so they're going to tell others about it. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
I wanted to ask something. Have you guys ever used any of the medical license that the sponsors of the oftentimes provide? I mean, their services to go and tap on those relationships with other doctors?
Say that one more time, Monica. I'm not sure if I heard
It's
you.
because I mean, I knew this existed, but I was not offered like right on my face, basically. When a
Uh,
sponsor offered us to send their medical license to go and speak with the doctors around our area to establish that relationship.
oh,
So I
okay.
was wondering if you guys ever use
Oh,
that.
MSLs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Hmm. I don't
Not
know if we
yet.
have. Yeah, I mean,
Not yet, and I'm sorry.
yeah.
Not yet, but we did have on for one of our SIVs on our NASH studies, that was the first time we actually had a liaison come over and actually offer to do these talks with any, with our already existing PIs and sub-Is, but with other potential practices along with not only for the doctors, but their staff as well.
Mhm.
So, I mean, and I'm pretty sure they've existed, but this was actually the first time that one of them came and offered these services, and we let them know that there's something that we never knew it was something possible from the studies that we participated in.
Yeah, for me too, I mean, I knew that they existed and they were doing some
Yes.
work, but I thought it was within the actual team that was working on this on the studies, right?
Mhm.
But learning the possibility that they could go and speak with other doctors, is another whole world for me. But
Mhm.
I wonder if that will be something that will work in a site that is in a rural area, which people is a little bit more apprehensive, or they are not open so much to maybe somebody from an outsider to come and start building that relationship. So I wanted to know if that was the case, but maybe that will be another webinar later on when you have that experience.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, I've had
think,
that. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
oh, okay. I'll be quick. I think that there might be maybe one reason why we haven't had too many opportunities at this is because being in a rural area, um, there typically needs to be one or two plane changes just to get here, and that expands the activation energy considerably. Whereas if you're in Houston or Los Angeles or Philadelphia, chances are you've got an MSL that's either right there or they can take a quick flight and get there pretty easily. But you know typically flying here to McAllen, there's a couple of airports that serve this area. And I don't think any of them has more than six gates total. Yeah. But I mean, if that, I think McAllen actually has four.
Yes,
So
I think so.
yeah, so there's
So you go there. What's the nearest airport? So you go first to Houston airport, and then from there you go there, or how it is?
yeah, Houston or Dallas. I don't know. Ashley, do you know if there's a way to fly here from Austin?
Actually, Delta just made a one-way now from Austin to the Valley, but that just started, I think, in March.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll have more attention from MSLs now that the flight's going. But,
Yeah. But prior to that, no, it was mainly just Dallas or Houston. It was
yeah.
nothing from Austin.
Well, I now I want to go and see you guys face to face and meet you in person.
Yes,
Right.
welcome.
And I was going to add to that, I do have some experience with what Monica mentioned. I think it's only study specific, so some sponsors will offer or have an MSL specific to that study who can do these. My experience, though, the ones that we've worked on that had that, is they're limited on what they can do because they don't speak Spanish. So they can't do all this outreach. They can't go do presentations to patients because they don't speak Spanish. So we're back having to do what we need to do.
Yeah. Okay.
The liaison that we got was an American Caucasian man. Mr. Lahilo, sorry. No. And I was going to say, I mean, even if we do want to, have those talks, it would have to be more specifically with physicians. But our liaison is actually our promotora, her name is Miss Ibarra. So she's worked with, I think she said, with the South Texas promotoras or promoting healthcare community for 40 years, give or take, here in the Valley. And she has traveled to other places to be used as a translator in those little rural areas where, you have someone Hispanic that does not know English and the doctor does not know Spanish. And so she would be that facilitator that would translate. But she's our liaison. And she's the one that goes out and she does our health fairs.
Wow, that's amazing. Promotoras, I think that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah. And maybe also show the sponsors how much we need more diversity in the workforce,
And
right?
more resources to
Yeah.
support all these efforts. But I know
Yeah.
we're a little bit past the hour. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I don't see anything. Perla says trust is key. And then we have Boris, who is from Compass LGBT Community Center in Palm Beach, Florida. He saw the meeting posted on Perla's LinkedIn and he wanted to join. He's a community health specialist with that facility, and he left his email if anybody is interested. And I don't know, other than that, I don't think we have any other messages. Does anybody want to ask a question? Let me see. I think there's a new message. Let's see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, everyone. Yeah, I think that was it. I don't know. No, there's no other messages.
And we'll link
Thank
you
you.
guys at the bottom of the video, just so if anybody does want to reach back out that's watching later, they can definitely reach out to the team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
everybody.
you so
Yeah.
much for
Thank you
everything you
guys so
guys
much.
do. It was amazing. I think we have to do part 2.
Yes.
It's not
Yes. Thank you for.
easy. It's not easy. It's hard work. You guys are inspiring people. I know
Yeah.
myself at you here in Yuma, my CRC Lana is on this call listening. She's taking notes. Lana, you better be taking notes. And Judy, same thing. You guys are inspiring us all. We share best practices and whatever works, we share with each other. That's the goal of these things.
Yeah.
Come to the valley.
Yeah.
Get some
Yes, we learned.
examples.
Thank you. We learned from each other, and I learned a lot when I visited. So thank you for having me last
Yeah,
month when
no,
I visited,
thank
or
you
March.
so much.
We would
It
love to
seems
have
that
you
team.
guys at SOS talking about diversity. That would be awesome.
Yes,
Next
yes.
year,
Yes,
Oklahoma. You guys
exactly.
down? You guys coming down?
Diversity, community outreach, the efforts that are happening, like at this, McAllen Research and everywhere else. This is the discussions we need to have, so sponsors and CROs can provide us with the resources that we need to continue to do this work.
And Perla too.
Absolutely.
Yes, Perla. We will keep you in
It's
mind
in
for
Perla.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yes.
she's in.
It seems that team David Laje is very supportive because he actually purchased my books too. Thank you. Never forget that.
Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you guys so much. It was great, and
Awesome.
we will see everybody again.
Have a good one.
Right.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.